Hey, how's everybody doing out there in YouTube land? Cobra Rhodes here, working with the Uncle Jon Arm Wrestling Show, and we just finished a pretty exciting interview with Randy the Natural Couture, mixed martial arts legend, Pan American Games champion, Greco-Roman wrestling, motion picture actor, and executive producer now, and also Randy is the head of the Extreme Couture GI Foundation. Randy touches base on some of the aspects of his life these days and what he's up to. He even shares with us what he respects and loves about arm wrestling and all combat sports. So join us. Part one of this interview will be on my page, and part two will be in the link below on Uncle Jon's Arm Wrestling Show. So be sure to see that. Let's take this time to thank Randy Couture for spending some time with us and sharing his thoughts, and we hope you enjoy this.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen in the arm wrestling world and that world beyond, I am honored to introduce to you guys a man who I consider a great friend of mine and a great friend of mankind. He's done a lot of great things, uplifting people. He is a two-time Pan American wrestling champion, six-time UFC champion, and executive producer, movie actor, and a generally overall great guy, Mr. Randy Couture. Randy, how are you doing, brother?
Doing good, Cobra. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Blessed. Good to see you again as well. It's been a while, about 6 years, maybe?
It's been a little while,
I
yeah.
think it was at the Arnold Classic, probably the last time.
Yeah, at the arm wrestling at the Classic. I think it was the last. Been a little while.
Correct. Randy, I believe the first time that I ever worked with you was in 2009 at the Extreme Couture GI Foundation that we had in Morro Bay, California. With,
Yeah.
You and Rampage Jackson. I think did we have Tito in there as well?
No, I think it was just Rampage and the other guy up there that weekend. I believe it was Memorial Weekend, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Big veterans bike ride and a whole bunch of stuff going on. I got to be the grand marshal of the deal there, and it was a lot of fun. Really fun weekend.
Yeah, it was. And that's one thing a lot of these folks out there might not know. They know Randy as a mixed martial artist, of course, and now acting. This is a guy that he's beaten the top guys in the game, in the fight game, in real life, a genuine badass. And now he's making action motion pictures with some of the baddest ass action stars in the game. Not many people get the opportunity to live two lives at a precipice, which Randy's lived several because he's a father also. And he's done a pretty good job at that. I've met one of your children, Ryan.
Ryan, yes.
Yeah. How's he doing?
Ryan's doing well. Ryan's running the gym. He's running Extreme Couture. I signed it over to him last year. Of course, a week after I signed it over to him, he's got to close it down for 2 months because of the quarantine. Oh my gosh. So, but he's doing really well. His first baby is expected here on the 5th of May. So I'm going to be a granddad for the second time in a year, which is pretty awesome.
Congratulations, Randy. Uncle Jon and I were just discussing, there's congratulations in order. Your woman in your life, Mindy, has written a film, a screenplay, and you are executive producing it. You guys just wrapped that film. You want to tell the folks about that a little bit?
Mindy wrote a script called Dark Angels, The Demon Pit about 5 years ago, and I fell in love with the script and the story. It deals a lot with human morality, but in kind of a supernatural way. Finally, takes time to make the right connections and get the right things in place. And we finally got to, again, start producing this film and get this film made. We were supposed to start filming May 1st, and then obviously the quarantine and everything happened, and we had to push. So we finally just got it done a month ago, and very excited with what I've seen so far. I think it's going to come out great. I think people are going to like it. It's kind of, if you took Constantine and rolled it into Dusk Till Dawn, that's kind of our story. So,
nice. All right. I like that.
We're going to have a lot of special effects in here and stunts.
There'll be some. We try to do a lot of it old school, use real costumes, real makeup. But there's all, nowadays, especially with as good as the CG people are at creating computer generated images, there will definitely be some CG in this, but it's not going to be a Marvel story where everything's kind of CG.
Right. Now, Randy, when when I first started working with anything that you're involved with, was that 2009 event. Was that your first we've arm wrestling, organized arm wrestling?
Gosh.
Because that was before the Arnolds. That was before
the Arnolds. So that would have been, yes, my first opportunity to see arm wrestling in person. And then obviously I carried on. I started getting asked to come to arm wrestling at the Arnold, give out awards and meet all the competitors and watch the competition at the Arnold, which was, up close and personal. Maybe a lot of people don't think of arm wrestling as an individual combative sport, but it is just different rules of engagement. So I think I always felt akin to the guys and gals competing in the sport of arm wrestling.
Excellent. John, do you have any questions for the natural?
I just wanted to comment on some of my experiences with the Arnold Classic, because I've been to the Arnold 3 or 4 times now. And I just wanted to express to people that have never been to the Arnold, 1, how amazing that tournament is, but 2, how awesome it is that, Randy, you're not just there to give out the awards. Like, you're there the night before and you kind of hang out with the pullers and you kind of give us the bands and everything. And I was like, it was blowing my mind. And I think it was 2012 was the first time. And I'm like, what? Randy Couture he's gonna shake my hand right now. That's happening right now. Yes, it happens right now, guys. This is what you get if you qualify for the Arnold. You're gonna meet Randy. It's gonna be awesome. It's like one of the coolest things you can do. So thank you, Randy, for always it's not like you just go and you snap a couple pictures. You're there, and I always thought that was really impressive and really, really quite cool.
John, one of the things about Randy that I've always appreciated is that when he talks to the young wrestlers, he welcomes them. And with everyone in life, Randy's always a positive light. But I know from being in this game 4 decades now that the hard work and determination, and Randy appreciates that, and he gives these guys and girls that extra push they might need. Because a lot of people, there's a sport like wrestling, there's not a whole lot of money in it for most folks. You understand? So to have that passion to drive, and Randy shares that, and I think it's a great thing and a great inspiration for these athletes to be able to see him at an event like the Arnold, which I don't think it's ever going to be like it was again. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're right. I don't think it's, the quarantine, that was kind of the first major event nationally that kind of got shut down by the state of Ohio, and Arnold and the board of directors kind of pushed back and said, no, we're not canceling the event. We'll eliminate the spectators, but these athletes have worked hard to come and perform and do their sport. So it was a weird year not having any spectators in the arenas. The mob of people that's usually around there, it was very strange. Obviously, they had a ton of vendors that got turned away that they had to then give all that money back that they had paid to become part of the expo. And so the financial ramifications of the quarantine were pretty significant. And unfortunately, I don't think the Arnold Classic is going to recover, at least in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, well, when you have 250,000 people shoulder to shoulder, it's not a good thing in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, I think it was early on then. I don't think we knew what the real numbers were.
Yeah.
What was really going to unfold. My honest opinion, I think if we knew then what we know now, I think we should have had those events and we should have had spectators and, maybe social distancing and masks and all that stuff. But I mean, my humble opinion that the virus is real. There's no doubt about that, but it's not, the mortality isn't there. It's just not there.
Mm-hmm. Randy, another question for you. Now you've had some you've been tied with arm wrestling kind of through the Arnold Classic and a few different events through time. But have you ever really kind of got in there and learned how to arm wrestle a little bit?
No, I haven't. And it's funny because I get people that ask me to arm wrestle all the time. They want,
Yeah.
you know, they want the challenge. Hey, come on, let's arm wrestle. And I'm like, man, you were not limiting me to one arm. I'm a wrestler. If we're going to wrestle full on. We better start moving some furniture.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
respect
guys
that.
one-
I respect that.
Randy Couture is the only person that I have allowed to take this finger and jam it in my chest like he does every time I see him. I owe you a couple, Randy. Wait till I grow up and get big and strong.
It is very interesting, though. I like watching the guys get their position and the build up, because you're waiting for them to get it just right, and the referee to cut you loose, and
Judo. And judo.
Yeah. So
also, Randy, a little tidbit. There's another superhero, Chris Pratt, that has experience with you back when he was 17 years old. Would you like to share with us a little history of you and Chris Pratt?
that was a really interesting story, and I actually read about it in an interview in a magazine first. And I was coaching at Oregon State. I was the assistant wrestling coach. Every summer we would hold camps, summer camps for young wrestlers to come down and kind of see our campus and get to work with some of our All-American and classic wrestlers in collegiate style wrestling. I would run those camps. And so Brett Barnes is a coach up at Lake Stevens High School, which happens to be up where I grew up in Seattle. He brought his team down. He was a former Cowboy as well. Brought his team down for one of our summer camps, and I'm up showing some technique, and I call this kid out and, you know, to use him to demonstrate some technique. And it happened to be high school age 17-year-old Chris Pratt. So he was ecstatic that he got called out to, you know, to be the throwing dummy, if you will. And it was something that stuck with him. And then obviously later, this was long before I ever started fighting. You know, obviously years later, I left my coaching position to pursue fighting full time, and then had a lot of success there. At the same time, Chris was on the trajectory to obviously become Star-Lord and all the things that we know him for, you know, Parks and Rec and all the different stuff that he's been involved in, and then we get to reconnect later at Unbreakable Gym in LA. He comes in, he's getting ready for a beer commercial, so he needs to shed some pounds and do some work. And we end up on the mat wrestling and talking about this story of me calling him out 17 years old. So then we end up wrestling again there and doing some workouts and stuff together. He's just a great guy.